ladies and gentlemen, now hosting the RizzoCast. Put your hands together for Steven Risotto!
What's going on, everybody, and welcome. My name is Steven Risotto. I used to cover the San Francisco Giants for SF Bay, and I'm currently a producer for 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. I'm also the host of RizzoCast, a podcast that features current and former big league players, coaches, fans, media, and others who are regarded as some of the brightest minds around the great game of baseball. Today's guest is Sean McMillan, the current head baseball coach for Sacred Heart Preparatory High School in Atherton, California, and the founder and president of All In Baseball, a nonprofit youth baseball organization geared towards clinics, camps, and scholarships. We discuss everything, a whole bunch of things, a range of things. We discuss his career in coaching, getting ready for the season, mentoring players, running a high school program, different trends in baseball strategy, so much more as we get ready for another season of prep baseball in the Bay Area. This is episode number 178, and let's get started. Alrighty, we are back on RizzoCast with Coach Sean McMillan, and Sean is nice enough to take some time and join the show. Sean, how you doing? Welcome.
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, and we were kind of just talking before we started recording, and you mentioned how baseball's wrapping up. You know, in a lot of other places, it might just be getting started. What is this time of year, kind of close to the holidays? What does this mean for you, your programs, the different types of variations of baseball programs that you run, and how does this year usually kind of feel for you? This time of year, I should say.
This year, it should be pretty quiet. Fall ball's just wrapped up. Football season's just wrapped up. Finals are approaching. Everyone's vacations are approaching. So hopefully everyone's spending time in the weight room and getting stronger and getting their bodies in a good position, because come mid-January through the end of July, it's kind of baseball 24/7. So take advantage of the time to be in the weight room and get your mind right, because January's coming and season's coming, and we're hungry. We had a rough year last year as far as Sacred Heart goes. So the guys have started to come out to open fields and get their swings in, but at the same time, they're preparing for finals. So it's a little bit of a balance. I run All In Baseball, and we've shut down because we believe in giving kids the time off from the game so that they can miss it, so that they can come back hungry in January and February and spend the time in the weight room that is much, much needed.
Yeah, time in the weight room is important, and I do want to kind of follow up on that. These are high schoolers that you work with, that you coach, and a lot of them, I'm sure, have not really had a great experience in the weight room or any experience in the weight room at all. So how is that, kind of taught by you, your staff, the training staff at the school, the strength and conditioning program at the school? How is that kind of, preached about the importance of that conditioning and the importance of getting stronger during the off season?
At Sacred Heart specifically, we're very fortunate to have 2 full-time strength coaches. We also have 3 full-time athletic trainers. So we're very, very fortunate to have a beautiful weight room and people that are fully committed to getting our athletes stronger and getting them in a position where they can succeed on the field. So as a baseball coach, it's nice to not have to worry about that. I can just send them over to the trainers, to the strength coaches, and they kind of take it from there. We do collaborate to make sure we're all on the same page and our workloads are the right way, but we're very, very lucky to be able to have people in our corner that know what they're doing and can prioritize the athletes. From an all-in perspective, I have a couple programs saved in my drive from when I was at Santa Clara. So I'm very lucky to have those to be able to give to athletes that aren't Sacred Heart. But at the end of the day, as long as you're doing something, it's probably better than nothing. There's so many resources available on YouTube, on Instagram, Twitter, that can really point you in the right direction. But so many kids just don't prioritize it. And that's where you see injuries or you see kids falling behind in recruiting. So as long as you're doing something and staying active in the gym, it's probably better than nothing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I kind of want to get into you a little bit, and then we'll get kind of, circle back to coaching and what you're doing now. But How did you fall in love with baseball? I know everybody's kind of got their story about what got them into the game, the passion that they have for the game. How did it start for you, and where kind of the origin stories of Sean McMillan's love for baseball?
I mean, it really starts with my dad. My dad played baseball growing up and all through his life. And I mean, as early as I can remember, I was playing or being around the game. I was fortunate to bat boy at Sarah High School growing up. So that was a really easy way to fall in love with the game, being around all those great athletes. But then playing myself in practices, games, you name it, I just ate it up. I went through grade school, and then I went to Sarah High School where I played for 4 years. I was a 2-year varsity starter. Then after that, I went down to University of Redlands, played 4 years there. I was two-time All Region, two-time All League. So my kind of passion and love for the game just kept me around the field and kept me in the gym. So it was just we were always hitting, always working. And then after that, I loved the game so much. I knew I wanted to stay in coaching at some or baseball at some capacity, and coaching was a way to do that. So I called Coach Craig Giannino, who was my coach at Sarah, and luckily it was good timing. He had a JV head coaching job open, and I told him I wanted it. So we met for breakfast, and next thing you know, I'm coaching a team, and that team is very special to me. Actually, we went 19-3. We won a league championship, and I mean, no one. At the end of the day, you don't remember many JV championships, but it was a really special group, and I'm still in touch with a lot of those guys. So it's really special. I mean, a couple of them coach with me now, so that it's kind of full circle. After Sarah, I went down to Santa Clara University, where I was the director of operations for Coach Rusty Filter for 4 years. That was very transformational for me as I knew how to coach and the basics of it, but he really took it to the next level. And I got to see the business side of the game, see the administrative side. So just really bringing baseball and business kind of all into one. So it's really cool to get to see that aspect of it. And then as your career kind of grows, you want to make some changes and lead your own program. And Sacred Heart Prep was open, and I applied for it. And kind of here we are 4 years later. Very, very beautiful school, very good administration. They take really good care of us and give us all the support we need. So it's kind of somewhere where I can see myself lasting for a while. And that's where All In Baseball comes in as well. We get to use the facility, which is one of the best on the peninsula. We get to play locally, compete at a high level, and get guys ready for college and send them off. So it's kind of just a one-stop shop here at Sacred Heart.
Awesome. I'm gonna try to dig into a little bit of that, like one at a time here. So the first one I want to talk about is you were a bat boy for Sarah when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you were a bat boy?
Probably third through sixth grade, and then it kind of starts getting into how you're seventh and eighth grade. You're getting too old for this.
So as a third through, I mean, I'm sure that like you looked at those kids as like heroes, and like I say kids, but they were probably grown men to you, like playing baseball at Sarah. That was probably the coolest thing. Were they cool to you? Or did they involve you in stuff, or were you just kind of like in the way? What
I
kind of
mean,
bat boy were you?
as much as you could involve a third and fourth grader as you can, I was there. I would come help at practice. I mean, as simple as bat boy is going to get the bat during the game. I probably did a little more than that. But it was just fun getting to see the game played at such a high level at such a young age and getting to learn lingo and language and just how the game should be played. So I felt very fortunate to experience that at such an early age and really see a high standard in how the game should be played every day.
Yeah, I'm sure you learned a lot of language.
A lot of language.
Yeah, no, for sure. Did you kind of have like a rooting interest for any of the Bay Area teams, Giants, A's, any other team in baseball that kind of, you grew up watching?
Yeah, I always grew up watching the Giants. The Braves, oddly enough, are always on TV
Yeah.
when you're homesick from school. So you kind of always just watch the Braves. But then Stanford baseball, that was always a local place where you can go and actually watch a game and chase down a foul ball. And I was actually fortunate enough to work with Coach Marquis over at Santa Clara for a couple of years. So it was really cool to grow up seeing him coach and watching Stanford baseball and then getting to work with him. So that was really fun. But yeah, Stanford and Giants. Then weirdly enough, the Braves.
Yeah. Was there a guy that stood out? I know you were a catcher. Did you model your game off anybody? Was there somebody that stood out that you liked watching?
Javi Lopez with the Braves.
Mm.
He was kind of just a stud back there from the beginning. Pudge Rodriguez, and I mean, obviously, you kind of get older and you get into Buster Posey. So just seeing Buster Posey go through Florida State, and then all the way through the Giants, and really just two locations getting to watch him thrive. I even got to watch him at San Jose Giants. Really cool to have that in your backyard. So it was really fun to see his development and his career from start to finish.
Yeah, and some could argue it's not done. He's got a new role
Exactly.
now. He's got a new role now.
As a
Just
big fan, it's fun to see him back.
yeah, no, it's interesting. It's almost like bringing like the vibes back from those dynasty years in the
Exactly.
early 2010s. It's pretty cool to see. Um, I want to mention one thing because I was reading something about you in the Daily Journal, which is ironically I write some stories for the Daily Journal as well, and there's one about you got a chance to catch Julian Merriweather
Yeah.
at Sarah High School, and I actually did a story on Julian when I was in at Skyline College, and he's an alumni of CSM, right? Or no, of Skyline, I think,
Caroline.
right? Skyline, and he ended up, making it to the big leagues with the Blue Jays organization, and I think you were quoted in the article as saying like, "Man, he threw like really, really hard," and like
Yep.
you're still a high school catcher. What was it like catching him, and just kind of reflect on that level of velocity at that young of an age? And I guess it's common now. You see kids throwing really hard still, but
Yeah.
Julian Merriweather is in the big leagues, so I guess it's a different type of velocity.
Yep. Yeah. At that age, it was almost scary to me. He was a senior, I was a junior. It was my first year on varsity, and he was truly the first guy where I was catching. I'm like, okay, that kind of hurts. You got better catching in the sweet spot. But he was fun to catch because he's a competitor. Um, no matter what the situation was in the game, he was competing and trying to get you out and trying to help the team win. And that kind of attitude's contagious. And I think that's why we were so successful as a team that year. I was telling you before we started 17-0 to that year, and that was Coach Giannino's first season. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. But having leadership from him and the rest of that senior class really helped us propel forward. And it was really cool getting to follow his career. Through junior college, and I think it was the D2 ranks. Then to get drafted, and all of a sudden you're following him, and he gets the call to the big leagues, and all of a sudden your former teammates on the hill, and it's really cool to see that. But he was really a good role model in the clubhouse, and just the way I can't say it enough how much he competed. It really sent him and our team forward.
When you got to college, was it just like, you were used to the velocity and it was just like, 13 Merryweathers, on the mound?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get adjusted to it and the speed of the game and the ins and outs of it. You just kind of, if you don't adjust to it, you kind of fall behind. So you don't really have a choice but to adapt and learn and fire up the pitching machine and just sit behind it and adjust to the velo. But yeah, it gets as you get older and you get used to it, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic of catching, I want to ask a few things about that. Like, in high school, coaches usually call the games, right? Colleges, coaches usually call the games, I guess. Um, is there any situation where like a player could coordinate with you, like a catcher and a pitcher could coordinate with you and say, we kind of want to take the wheel? Or is that still something that, is not, I don't want to say you have to be smart to do that, but, a catcher has to know his pitcher and the pitcher has to know his catcher, and there's got to be some sort of trust there.
That's
Is that something that like you would, kind of try with the pitcher and a catcher from time to time?
Yeah, it's when I was catching, I always preferred to call the game. You just see things differently from behind the plate than the coach does in the dugout. Now, having said that, the coach of the dugout does have a lot more experience and see things differently and understand the game differently. So I think it's really up to the catcher, pitcher, and the coach to be all on the same page. Um, Last year, I ended up calling the game for the Gators because our catcher was his first year on varsity, his first year really competing at that level. So I didn't think he was ready for it. Now that he's caught our pitching staff for a whole season in summer, I think he's ready to do it himself. But that'll be something that him and I and our staff kind of sit and talk through and make sure we're all on the same page. Is you go through scouting reports, kind of know who's in the league and who's the good hitters and who's guys you can attack. So as long as you're all on the same page and have a plan, then I think the catcher's at the end of the day, he's the one that should be calling it. He sees it, he's invested in it. Um, but there's arguments to both sides. But I think if you have a catcher that is knowledgeable and committed to the craft, then I think at the end of the day, they should be calling it.
you mentioned scouting reports because we don't really hear about that at the high school level. So it's kind of interesting to me that maybe there are some scouting reports for guys in the league. I mean, I guess on the contrary, there's more video. You could see guys ahead of time. You could see some swings. And maybe after so many swings, you could start to identify a trend as a coach watching it on video. Do you have like the scouting reports, or do you seek that out before matchups of other teams? Because I know again sometimes it's difficult to find, but what is that like trying to get a hold of that information?
It's something you develop relationships with other coaches, coaches around the area that you trust and provide good feedback for you. There's also this certain unwritten rule that you don't ask another coach in the league about another coach or another player in the or team in the league. You just go compete against your league. But if we're as a PAL, we're competing against a WCAL school, we obviously want the PAL to be successful. So if Coach Parabeck down at MA needs a report on Sarah because we played them earlier in the year, I'm probably going to give it to him. Hey, this is what they do well. This is what they don't do well. Here's how you can beat them. Here's how they might beat you. Um, anything really helps. And sometimes you might just say, hey, they're good. You just got to get after it. But they're with summer ball, there's so many players playing on different clubs, and we have player at All In. We have players from Woodside, Carlmont, Sequoia, Sarah. So we see guys and we get to know guys. So you get to know what they do as hitters, what they do as pitchers, but also kids are trying to get themselves recruited and they post their videos to Twitter. So if we know we're getting Johnny Smith on Wednesday and he's got a Twitter profile full of videos, we're going to take time as a group to watch those videos he posts and see what his pitches do and see what his tendencies are, and hopefully that helps us. So we use what's available, but it's not as in depth as college or the professional ranks by any means.
Yeah, you're not gonna not watch it if you have that information.
Exactly.
No doubt. So, and it's actually pretty cool that the PAL, against the WCAL or against any other league, they kind of work together and because I think I saw that a little bit in the WCAL. As much as we don't like at Reardon, we don't like Sarah or SI.
Mm,
If they are in some kind of championship game against, Modern Day or someone from SoCal, we don't care about Modern Day or anyone from
exactly.
SoCal. And it's all about representation of the area too. I think that's
Yeah.
really important.
I mean, it's
Um,
like Kings Academy last year. They ended up winning the D2 CCS title, and we as a coaching committee were really excited for them. It makes the league look strong. They were a really good representation of our league. So whenever they get to whenever any PAL team gets to the championship, you always cheer for them to really represent the league in a high way.
we're going to take a break on RizzoCast, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, RizzoCast listeners, how you enjoying the show so far? If you are enjoying the content and want more RizzoCast, please make sure to subscribe and leave a review on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We're also on social media, so follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at RizzoCast. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. And I think it's a good point that you do see a lot of those kids in summer or in fall ball. So is there that point when like the high school season rolls around and it's like this guy again? Like when someone steps up to the plate and it's like this guy again. We saw him the entire summer. We saw him the entire fall.
Yep. I mean, that's how there's a kid at Sequoia, Morgan Winfield, and he's a junior now, and for 2 straight years, he is any team I've coached, whether it's All In or Sacred Heart, he has dominated us. And it's anytime he comes to play, oh, this guy again. Anytime he takes the mound, this guy again. I was fortunate this fall he played for us. So right when he walked in the gate, I said, I am so happy you're here so I don't have to get beat by you. So this spring when we play him, it'll be like, how this guy again. But yeah, you get the PAL, you get players that are really talented that make varsity as freshmen or sophomores. So you do end up coaching against them for 2 to 3 years, and you start to know what they do and how they beat you. And sometimes they beat you a lot, and it gets frustrating. That's what makes league play so much fun. Over the summer, you play teams from who knows where, and you don't get to have that kind of rivalry and that competitive edge. So it's nice to get to have league play like that.
Yeah, my favorite is when you drive up all the way to Timbuktu to play a school like right next to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I remember going, we would go to Ripon. I think it's
Yep.
Ripon,
Oh yeah.
and it's like, oh God, we got to drive all the way up here. It's early in the morning. Who we playing? South City. And it's like, what are we doing? Like
Could have
we could
played in
have,
your backyard.
yeah, we could have had this, we'll drive up for the other games, but this one, do we
Exactly.
have to have it here? So,
Exactly.
yeah, no, that's my favorite part about tournament is those
That's
like,
why, I mean, with all in baseball, it's kind of our philosophy is to compete locally. We have so many good fields and facilities and teams right in our backyard that we don't need to go out to Stockton just to say we played in a tournament. We compete right here. We host a lot of tournaments. It just lets us really prioritize the weight room and competing at that high level. And there's so many colleges right here that they can come to us. We really don't need to chase where they're going. But like you said, it is so frustrating going to, well, we're gonna fly down to LA for a tournament, and then we're gonna play the club that's two doors down. So we prioritize staying home and competing in our backyard.
yeah, and like stuff's expensive now. So I
Yeah,
mean, well, I mean it's always been expensive, but now,
I'd
but
rather you pay for a good diet and the gym membership than hotel nights and Jack in the Box when you're on the road.
exactly. What's your go-to order? Jack in the Box. Let's hear it.
Oh, I mean, I don't do it often, but probably sourdough Jack.
Okay. Okay.
Pretty good,
Interesting.
pretty good. And you
Yeah.
can't beat their tacos.
You got any other like pregame meals or postgame meals that you like in the
Um,
area? You want to shout out
yeah, we
some
got
local
Bob's Country
establishment?
Corner.
Okay.
Bob's Country Corner is right up the way. It's a great mom and pop type little deli. They got drinks, they got chips, snacks, but all of our staff and players really appreciate the relationship we have with them, and they take really good care of us. Nothing beats a good Bob's sandwich before a game.
Okay, that I'm gonna have to write that down. So when we at Peninsula Prep Baseball cover Menlo or sorry, Sacred Heart Prep, you were almost that would have been a bad mistake, huh?
Yeah, you can't
You
throw
probably
Menlo in
ended
there.
the call right there.
Yeah.
When we go watch a Sacred Heart Prep game, then we will be sure to go to Bob's. So
Yep. I'll point you to the right guy, and he'll take good care of
great recommendation.
you. Yep.
Kind of going back in your career, I looked at your stats at the University of Redlands, and they are insane. I mean, it 4-year starter. I mean, just an incredible career there, kind of a storied career. Um, what was it about college baseball that you'll remember most? Because I know a lot of people have different experiences, but for you specifically, what do you remember most about those 4 years?
I think the first thing that came to my head when you asked was the relationships um, with my teammates, just with my roommates. We ended up living together, and then with my coaches. The guy that recruited me was Scott Laverty. He ended up leaving after my freshman sophomore year, and then Aaron Hawley took over junior and senior year. Coach Lav actually came up to my wedding 2 years ago. So the relationships were probably the best part. But just competing with guys that you spent so much time with. In high school, you go to class, you go to practice, and you go home. You don't spend as much time together. But in college, you're out on your own. You can hang out 24/7. So really getting to spend time with those guys and getting to grow up together. 18 to 22 years old is a really formative couple of years. So we learn how to be men together. But just really competing at that high level, the 3 game series, it's a really fun dynamic in high school. You play 2 games a week, whereas on the weekend you got Friday night and then you're back out at Saturday. So you got to really flush it really fast. Being able to stay at the cage all day long if you want is really something that's different at college. The time commitment. So I think it's just overall the relationships and being able to just fortunate to have a chance to do it because there's not, if you look at the percentages, it's like 7 or 8% to get to play college baseball to sort of know that I got the chance to do it and to be successful. I was just really grateful for it.
Yeah, and you stayed in the same place for 4 years. It's kind of unheard of.
Yeah, nowadays it's really unheard of. I mean, looking back at it, I don't even if with the transfer portal the way it is, I still don't think I would have left just because my boys. It's you like competing with your friends, and those I don't think I would have been able to leave my friends behind if I were to have interest in transferring. Um, Now it's a different era nowadays, and if I wasn't playing, maybe it's different. But I was fortunate to be in the lineup a lot. Um, so yeah, I don't think I would have left my boys like that. Ooh, I lights went out.
Uh-oh. Do you think it's a good thing that like the transfer portal is like that now? I mean, you mentioned that you don't want to leave your boys behind. I mean, I agree with you. And I don't think a lot of other, and not to like trash on like generations or anything, because I mean, technically this is my generation that I'm
Yeah.
talking about. But like maybe your answer is going to be, oh, it's just different. But is it better or worse than it was? Because I feel like there's not that same, maybe college baseball is never pure, but it's definitely less pure now.
Yeah, it's I definitely less pure because you don't have that relationship piece, and it starts with the coaches at Division 1 level. They're always jumping around, and it's not a knock to them. They have lives to live and families to feed, but coaches are getting fired at a higher rate if they're not winning. So all of a sudden, it's putting the kids in a tough spot. I think there is a certain good side where you can, your coach leaves and you do get a chance to go somewhere new. Um, or your coach is hard and not what you agreed to when you signed that scholarship, so you get that out. But I think there is a lot of hand holding going on right now where kids are just, I don't like it, so I'm going to leave. Or I'm not playing a lot, so I'm going to go somewhere else where I'm going to play. Well, if you look at the portal right now, there's probably 2,000 kids in it that all throw 88 to 90 miles an hour that are looking for a new home. So sometimes I think you just got to tough it out and ride that hardship. And at the end of the day, you're going to come out better for it going through the dark time. But yeah, it is just different right now. I think the Division 3 and junior college options are better than ever because D1 schools have to win. Like I said, coaches are getting let go. So it's much more attractive to take an All-American D3 player than it might be to take a senior in high school who's never lived on his own, who's never gone through the college lifestyle. If you take a junior college or a Division 3 player, they've proven success on the field. They've proven success in the classroom. It's a little different there. Um, but it's I always prioritize the relationships and the friendships. I think that's what's going to carry you through life, the life lessons you get. But if you're a high level player and someone's offering you a couple $1 million, that's a whole different story. So I don't think I'm going to speak for those situations, but there's something valuable about toughing it out and being there with your boys.
Yeah, and I guess maybe on a different episode we'll talk about the NIL stuff because that is probably a different episode
Yeah,
altogether.
definitely.
But a good segue would be into your work that you did at Santa Clara after your playing career and after coaching at Sarah. You were kind of, part of the Santa Clara University baseball program. Um, and you mentioned that it kind of combined business with baseball, and that was like one of the first times you saw that happen. Or I guess, what was your role there, and how did it kind of combine business with baseball?
I mean, my role was kind of a little bit of everything. I mean, I was ordering uniforms. I was getting guys new socks if they needed it, new belt. I was ordering the bats, gloves, booking airfare, booking hotels, getting everyone their rooming assignments, making sure we had per diem when we're on the road, some cash to get you some food. Um, Coach Filter had a thing where if we won a series, he liked giving the guys a little reward. So maybe it was a fresh pair of batting gloves, maybe it was an arm sleeve. So I had to make sure we were always stocked there. Um, it's not just baseball too. You work for a university, so there's a whole athletic department. So we have athletic department meetings. We have there's some fundraising that goes on. There's budgeting that goes on. So just a little bit of everything that Coach Filter really wanted to make sure he was on the field and coaching. So I tried to take a little load off for him there so that he could really prioritize coaching while I could really take care of the administrative side of things.
And what year were you there? Or what
I was
years
there
were you
from
there?
2017 to 2021, I believe it was.
So do you know a friend of the podcast, Matthew Calhoun?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Weird and alum.
Reardon, a shortstop, good shortstop,
Yep.
D1 shortstop, and
Great
I think
athlete.
he, good athlete. Yeah, I think he kind of played all over the place for.
Yeah, he was kind of a utility player. Wherever he was needed, he was willing to go and just a scrappy guy at the plate. So we loved having Matt Calhoun.
Yeah, Callie, as he's known at
Yeah.
Reardon. So,
Yep.
he might be listening actually if he sees that you were on here. So,
Maddie.
actually, I would
Doing
hope
well,
he's
buddy.
listening all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're obviously at Sacred Heart Prep, and um, it is a big deal, compared to, coming from Santa Clara. A lot of people are like, oh, okay, he went to college to high school, but it's a big deal to lead a program. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. And it's hard to be at one place for a long time. And again, you mentioned that, this is a place you could see yourself at for the long haul. How important is it for you to have that responsibility of running an entire program, and what has that meant to you to kind of be the guy in charge there?
I mean, I personally I love it. I think a lot of people love coaching baseball, and they don't understand what it takes to really run a program.
Yep.
There's a difference between being able to hit a fungo and manufacture bunt defenses and things like that. But then there's so much that goes into it. We talked about travel, fielding a whole schedule, having relationships with their coaches, making sure each player you're prioritizing their development, the relationships with each parent in the program, uh, overseeing. We have a JV and a varsity, so overseeing two programs. It's not just I'm not just going out there and winning a game for the varsity. It's hey, how'd the JV do? How can we help develop the JV team? Relationships with our athletic department, making sure I'm reporting to them as far as budget goes, as far as facility goes. So there's just so much that goes into it that I think a lot of people just say, "Oh, I want to coach. I want to be a head coach," but then they do it and they don't realize the time commitment, and how much work it really takes. So that's why I do love it here. The facilities are beautiful. The administration is outstanding. If we need something, they try their best to get it for us. Our parent body is outstanding. They support us through everything. Through a 7-20 season last year, there could have been a lot of argumentation or doubt, and our parents kind of stood there the whole way and believed in our mission and what we're trying to accomplish. But being able to be the leader of a program is really something special. We have a mission, vision, and some core principles that help drive us every day, and everyone is bought into those, and you can really develop those relationships that carry on for a lifetime, and you create a lot of life lessons outside of just how to properly swing a bat. You're really setting them up for life and building men for others. So it's really something special that we get to do as head coaches.
Mm. And I'd imagine a big part of your job is also trying to get some of these kids recognized, right? By colleges, and maybe you're on the phone with colleges, and you're in contact with colleges. What is that part of the job like, and how has it changed since you kind of got into the realm of coaching? Because again, like you mentioned, coaching is one thing, but then doing the other stuff, like kind of promoting your players, is a completely different thing.
I mean, social media is a huge piece. I try to have a good social media presence so that our guys just naturally get seen.
It's very clean, by the way. So
Thank you.
good job.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Having been at the Division I level for 4 years, I created a good network with a lot of the other coaches in the league and that we played against. I played Division III ball, so a lot of those coaches are still the same in that conference. So I have that network there. It's really at a point where you have to be honest with the college coaches. If you tell them someone's a good fit for them and then they're not, they're probably not going to call you again. So making sure that you're honest with them and providing good feedback goes a long way. If you don't, you're really putting your program in a hole. They're not going to come watch you again if they don't trust you. Sometimes it's a lot easier than others. We have a guy in our program that he's 6'4" and throws 90 miles an hour, so it's a lot easier to get him recruited, especially in today's era of recruitment. It's a lot harder to find just a good high school player to find him a home. But if you believe in a kid and are with him in his corner and you put in the time and effort, things can really get done. But it does take time and effort. If you're not fully committed to the process of emailing coaches, going to the right events, there's a lot of money grabs out there. If you're going to tournaments and showcases right now, you're probably not getting recruited. Take the time to be in the weight room and prioritize your body and understanding how to compete. And then when it's March through July, that's when you can go to the right events and play for your team and really put yourself in a good position. But it does help having a coach in your corner that can really benefit you and call a coach that he believes in. If you don't have someone in your corner, then you're just out there on your own, and it makes it really challenging.
Uh, somebody just like, I also want to mention the baseball in the peninsula.
Mhm.
Because it is kind of like it's a hot spot in a way,
Yeah.
right? I think we talk about the baseball that's played in the East Bay, right? And you go into the Walnut Creek area, and it's like it kind of blows up a little bit, and Yeah, there's different parts of Southern California that have kind of a populated baseball hotbed, but the peninsula I think is kind of overlooked. How would you generalize and describe the talent that you see being on the peninsula?
Coming from Sarah, where the played in the WCL and every game is an absolute battle. It's everyone is good. And then you go to the PAL and it was a little adjustment for me. I didn't realize how strong it was. And every team has an ace. Every team has a guy that throws 86 to 88 or sometimes better. Every team has a number two that knows how to command the zone. Every team has 2 to 3 guys in their lineup that can do damage. And it's really cool to see how strong baseball is on the peninsula. I think COVID put it in a little hole for a little bit where baseball wasn't accessible, but it's back and stronger than ever. I'm really proud of where the PAL is right now. Last year, Carlmont beat Midi. We beat St. Francis 2 years ago. Cappuccino beat Sarah last year. So there's a big transition happening where the PAL is much more relevant than it has been the last 10 years. I don't think Sarah or St. Francis were really losing to Carlmont, but now more players are committed, more players are wanting to compete at that level, and you're seeing a lot more consistency throughout the WCL and the PAL. But we were 2-12 in league last year, and I think we lost 8 one-run games. So we were in last place, but I don't think there was one coach in the league that walked onto our field saying, "Oh, this is an easy win today." So it just goes to show how many good players there are in the area, how much passion there is for the game of baseball, and just really passion for your school and your team.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you guys were out of a lot of games at all. Um,
The 1 and 2 seed teams that finished 1 and 2, we lost by 1 run in each game. So we were right there.
yeah, no, for sure. And just a few more things before we wrap. How do we get young people into baseball? And I guess I'm going to gear this towards you. I know I say we, but I'm going to gear it towards you. How do you get young people into baseball? Maybe it's like, it's a two-way street, and maybe you can't do everything, and coaches can't do everything, and even, people who are trying to be advocates for baseball can't do everything. But it seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect. The kids that are involved in baseball are involved, like more than ever, I'd say, and committed. But how do we get the athletes from, let's say, basketball and football back into baseball? And how does baseball look more fun? Like, how does that happen?
I think it starts at the big league level, making it something attractive and making the product really exciting to watch. If you watch the NFL right now, I think they had a Simpsons episode recently. I think they had a Nickelodeon episode recently. They're on Netflix, they're on Prime, they're on everything. So you can find them wherever you go. I don't think MLB is at that point right now. Now I have no say in how that goes, nor do I want to, but I do think it starts there. But then we're really trying to affect it at the youth level. We host a lot of camps for the younger ages to make it a desirable sport. But we're just kind of at a point with society right now where there's so many offerings going on. Flag football has completely blown up. Lacrosse is blowing up. There's so many avenues to find your passion. And then that goes into college. If you're good at lacrosse and there's a scholarship that could be lingering there, why wouldn't you go for it? I just feel like 10 years ago, it was really baseball, basketball, football, and soccer. And now there's just more offerings and more things to do. It's really great that girls flag football is now a CIF sport, but that takes away from girls golf in the fall. So I think each sport is kind of having their own struggle right now. But we really want kids to just fall in love with the game. I think a lot of the brands are doing a good job. There's so many oven mitts that you can put on your hand that
Yeah.
they look like any creature you want. You can have it on your hand. And I think kids are just falling in love with the swag. I'm all for it. If it makes you love the game, makes you go on the field, then wear whatever the heck you want to wear.
Look good, play good.
Yeah, I'm all for it. So that's a good route to go for. I think we offer youth camps and we're hosting Alpine Little League tryouts at our place. So we're just trying to let kids see what we have to offer and see that the game is fun and that they can be successful in it. Then hopefully you have that big league dream. Everyone has that dream and you got to chase it.
How many of the kids that you coach like actually watch baseball? Like how many of them are like big fans? They know what's going on around the league. They have, players that they'll tell you about and go, "Hey coach, did you see, Shohei Ohtani hit his 47th home run last year?" Like do you see baseball rats that you coach quite often?
Yeah, there's definitely a good handful. There's also the hard part where, they're trying to be student athletes and school is so hard right now and there's so much pressure to get into the best universities that, if they go to practice for 2 hours and then go eat with their friends, all of a sudden they're grinding on the books. So they just don't have the time to watch. But more and more I'm seeing guys go to baseball games and actually watch the Giants compete, and they're watching Ohtani chase these milestones. They're all these money contracts. All I hear is them talking about Soto's latest money deal. So I think it's gaining interest. Guys are really falling in love with it again. I think I hit on COVID already, but I think COVID really put a hold on that. There just wasn't as much to watch. It wasn't very exciting, but it's coming back around. But it's definitely not like it used to be when I was kind of growing up. I feel like baseball cards used to be a huge deal, and now no one really has baseball cards.
They're
Uh,
expensive.
there are now it's like a commodity. It's like it's something you like actually work for money. Whereas we used to get a brick of baseball cards for Christmas, then you would sort them by team and see who you got, and but so it's just a different generation now. They have different pressures in their lives, but they still do love watching the game.
Yeah, baseball cards were how I understood and knew what players were, like were on what team, and they're so expensive. Like if you walk into lefties right now, like it's so expensive to get
Yeah,
even a box of cards. So,
unbelievable.
and it's all because, someone's trying to get that one card that could, bring
Get that Paul
generational
Skeens
wealth.
rookie card, and you got tickets for life.
Yeah, the Paul Skeens rookie card, you got tickets for life. You got the Livy Dunn's offering her suite. I mean, there's different things going on to where baseball cards is definitely
Which
a
at the
yeah.
end of the day is it's good for the game. People are
Yeah,
talking about it and people are enjoying it, so it's
yeah.
good.
And one thing I was wondering about that is like they're offering season tickets, but what if like you, Sean McMillan, finds this Paul Skeens card in Northern California? You live in Northern California. What are you gonna do with the Pirate season tickets? So,
Hopefully, I'd make a trip out to experience one game, but
yeah, yeah,
you know, I'd either try and sell them or I'd find some fan that's actually really would value the tickets and hopefully work with them to get them to go to a lot of games. But I know, like the Giants, if that happened to the Giants, I know people would love to have those seats and would really cherish them. So I think that's what I would do is try to connect with the fan base somehow. Maybe it's a Facebook group, so that they could really enjoy it too. Because I'm not going to have any value in them.
yeah,
I might be
yeah.
able to get a couple bucks off it, but it'd be really cool to let some kids really enjoy that front row seat.
Yeah, no doubt. Paul Skeens is electric, by the way. He's
Oh, it's
he's
unbelievable.
he's insane. What has he got? Like the Splinker? I forget what it's
Yeah.
called.
The
Yeah,
best part is he's part of the Air Force.
that's right. Yeah, and
Pretty
he
incredible.
isn't that just an incredibly tough play. He went to Air Force, right? Isn't that a
Yeah.
or no? He went to LSU, but
Air
um,
Force first.
Air Force first, and that's an incredibly tough place to pitch. I think, right?
Yes, it is. I mean, you're up there in the mountains and the ball flies. So to be able to be that good of a pitcher at that ballpark, it's like pitching at the Rocky Stadium, you know?
Yeah,
But at the same time, you look at his hitting stats, he was a monster at the plate too.
that's right. Yeah, a lot of two way. What do you think about two way guys? Like, I mean, obviously, high school, most guys are two ways. I mean, I was a PO just because like I couldn't hit at all. But,
Mhm. I
like,
love them. I think they're
yeah,
the more you're around the game, the more ins and outs you see. I think the better all around player you are. So I think you should play both as long as you can until someone tells you not to. Um, you're only going to learn more about the game being on both sides of the ball. So do it until someone says no.
yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. And no organization has developed a two way guy. Like Otani came over and he was already developed. So,
Yeah, he was done deal.
but nobody's figured it out of the draft
I
because
think more and more teams are trying.
yeah,
I mean, if you could get a pitcher and a hitter in one player, it's cheaper for them. They have less money to spend. Um,
it's a roster spot for two people for
yeah,
one. Yeah.
I think it's more and more attractive, but now you just got to really be able to develop it and see it flourish.
Yeah, I wonder when the first one is going to be that is coming through the draft and
Yep.
all that, and I
Jack
wonder.
Caglione's a pretty good start.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good one. And maybe if one does choose hitting, like there might be a mop up role where they could
Yeah,
eventually pitch or something or come out of
exactly.
the bullpen. So there's a lot of ways to do it. Um, final thing here, I want you to talk about your upcoming season. What are you excited for most at Sacred Heart Prep? I know you mentioned a lot of close games last year, a lot of them that didn't go your way. How is that going to change, and what do you expect for this upcoming year?
It's an exciting time to be a Gator. We had one senior consistently in the starting lineup last year, so that kind of puts you in a hole. It's in the PAL. You have a lot of seniors who are going to be successful, and that's what we have this year. We return almost every inning on the mound. We have two premier frontline starters, Rollin Covey's committed to USC, and then Devin Saltzgaber was 2023 Pitcher of the Year for the CCS, and he's going to Pomona pitcher. So to have that 1-2 punch is really going to set us up well. But then we also return almost every at bat in our lineup. We have a lot of guys that struggled last year that faced adversity, but now they're grown up, they're mature, they've taken those life lessons, and they're ready to compete. We have a lot of football players that are coming out now. Baseball's kind of growing on campus here, so our numbers are better. The chance we have up to 20 guys. If you know Sacred Heart Prep, you know our roster is usually 13 to 14. To have that extra 6 or 7 guys, it's really beneficial for us. But there's a good energy going around the clubhouse, around the field right now. People are excited. People are hungry. Last year, going 7-20 is not easy. So hopefully you flip the script and rattle off some wins and start winning those close ones because you have those veterans at the plate that can drive in the winning run. But we'll be a pitching heavy team. We have a lot of depth there, and if you have that, you're always going to have a chance to win league.
Yeah, and there's a big tournament to start the season, right?
Sure is. We usually host this tournament over spring break, but with things kind of changing, we figured we might move it to the start of the year. So we kind of teamed up with Menlo School and Menlo Atherton down the way. So we created the Battle for Atherton. Sarah High School's right down the street, and they're in it. Los Gatos has been a Division I power for the last couple of years, and then Scotts Valley up in the hill has been very successful. So we got 6 really strong programs to kick off the season, and it's really nice to bring baseball to Atherton and for everyone to really see what the heart of the peninsula is all about.
Yeah, I mean, you went there, but do you like beating Sarah?
We haven't beat them yet as a coach, but I'm sure it'll feel good if it happens.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if anytime you can beat one of the premier programs on the peninsula, it's going to feel good.
No, that's a good way to put it. And also, I wanted to give you the chance. You're the president of All In Baseball. Tell me a little bit about All In Baseball. I know you sprinkled it in a little bit. You guys have different camps that happen. I think I read on the website some scholarship opportunities. What is All In Baseball, and how could people check that out?
So we're a full service organization. A lot of people use the word travel ball, but I think we're a little bit higher than that. We do things all the way from youth camps all the way to seniors getting ready to go to college. I want to be in your corner every step of the way. We have a great facility here at Sacred Heart to develop at. We have a great relationship with Perfect Game and 5-Tool, where we host tournaments here. It's really a one-stop shop if you want to compete at a high level. We're growing. This is going to be our 4th summer, so we're going to have 5 teams this summer, which is the most we have had and the most we will have. We don't want to grow to a point where we're not giving each player the love and dedication they deserve. So that's why staying at 5 teams lets us have a strong coaching staff and really compete in a strong way. We also created the Birdman Bats Summer League, which was something that was really missing over the summer months here. Joe DiMaggio and Babe Ruth kind of faded out a little bit, so we needed something for kids that maybe aren't the college level player to be able to compete in. So we paired up with 7 other programs and schools in the area. So they play Tuesdays and Thursdays. Our club practices Monday and Wednesday. So if you're a young player that needs somewhere to go, we got you covered Monday through Thursday with games and practices. And then our 3 better teams will compete in tournaments locally. And, we take care of all the video. We'll help you formulate a profile if you want to get recruited. I'll give you a summer lifting program if you need it, but we're really one-stop shop and really a dedicated coaching staff that can really prepare you for not only your high school season, but beyond that.
Awesome. Sounds like a cool thing that people could go check out. That's All In Baseball. And final thing, because I have not mentioned this to the listeners on the podcast, but myself, my 2 uncles, Pat Sangemino, Mike Sangemino, we are starting a one-stop shop for baseball on the peninsula called Peninsula Prep Baseball. And I want to ask you this question. I have to ask because there are some outlets that cover baseball on the peninsula. There's a Daily Journal, which again I am a part of. There's Get Sports Focus. There's the Mercury News. They do it sometimes. There's a bunch of other, places that cover baseball. But what does it mean that there's now going to be a website dedicated exclusively to high school baseball on the peninsula?
I mean, it's really special that you guys are doing it. These coaches and players are so committed, and they really deserve the recognition that you guys are going to give them, the promotion that you guys are going to give them. So just to have somewhere to check in on standings, on rankings, on highlights from certain games, it's really something that's been needed here. Don't get me wrong, the Daily Journal does a great job. Cali Sports does a great job, but to have some people dedicated to the peninsula specifically to really help show how strong our baseball community is, it's really special that you guys are doing this. I know all the other coaches are going to love it. All the kids are going to love it. They'll blow it up on Instagram, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I will go ahead and send you that $20 that I told you that I would give you for saying that. No, Sean, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a blast. Got to learn a lot about you, your background. Of course, always learning about the game from different people with different experiences. And thanks for coming on, and appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And everybody could go ahead and follow. Do you want to plug yourself? Where can people find you on social media?
On Instagram,
I mentioned it was clean.
Yeah, Coach Mac 40 on Instagram, and then Twitter, I'm S McMillan S McMillan SHP. Give us a follow, see what we're up to. Hope to see you around.
Awesome. And everybody could go ahead and listen to the podcast on you could follow us on Twitter and Twitter and Instagram, or X, I guess it's called now. X and Instagram, and then go check us out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go check that out. More to come soon, and see you next time.